Have you wondered what makes your opponent's character so strong? Or you wanted to try out a different character from the one you started with? I'm going to be talking about what makes characters different from one another and how their tools can influence their goals. Archetypes are typically defined by their tools, and just because someone fits into one archetype super well, it doesn't mean that they're solely going to do what that archetype likes to. Often, characters can be classified into a few, and I like to view this as a main, secondary, and sometimes tertiary role. We'll start off with Shotos. Shotos are generally the all-rounders of a game, having a tool to deal with most every situation. They can play at most ranges well, but can struggle if their opponent's stronger at the range they're trying to play. Shotos use motion inputs rather than charge, and their main tools are a fireball, an anti-air special move that also acts as an invincible reversal, a forward advancing special move, and strong normals to challenge in the mid-range. This is almost always a character's main archetype. The Shotos in this game at the time of making this video are Ryu, who specs more into zoning and has a stock mechanic, Ken, who's more rushdown centric, Akuma, who is generally strong at everything but at the cost of lower health, making him a glass cannon, and Luke, who I'd also put in the Footsies archetype. Rushdown characters are fast, want to play at a close range, and they have the tools to get in, mix you up, or both. They don't do super well if you zone them out, and their approach options are able to be checked if your reactions are on point. Some examples of this type of character are Kimberly, who has varied and strong approach options and really leans heavily into the Setplay sub-archetype, and Juri, who has a strong, slow fireball that covers her approach, a dive kick that lets her mix up her air options, and also has a stock mechanic, putting her in the subtype of power-up character. Similar to Rushdown, grapplers want to get up close and personal to you, but they generally don't have a very strong approach, and instead, they have one extremely powerful defining feature, a command grab. A command grab does a lot of damage and is an extremely threatening option to anyone who gets up close. They struggle heavily against zoning and often have slow buttons that are easy to whiff punish. Some grapplers in this game are Manon, who has a power-up mechanic that makes her grabs get stronger the more she lands them, and Zangief. For the most part, he's a true grappler. The polar opposite of a grappler is a zoner, and they excel when they're able to play neutral at a long range. Zoners are able to play a very strong keep-out game, and have access to a variety of anti-airs and projectiles to keep their opponent locked down. They can struggle at a close range when they don't have easy access to a lot of their best tools, or when you make them scared to throw out moves with long recovery. A zoner like Guile can fit into the subtype of charge character, as instead of performing his special moves with motion inputs, he has to charge one direction, then press the opposite and a button to perform his special. JP is a zoner who also fits extremely well into the Setplay sub-archetype. Onto my favorite archetype, the Footsies character is one who excels in the mid-range neutral aspect of the game, mainly with strong pokes and whiff punish tools. They're able to outrange their opponent's normals to make whiff punishing easier, and poke their opponent with long limbs. Generally, their normals have a bit more recovery, making them easier to whiff punish, and while their anti-airs are strong, they're pretty range or timing specific. Footsie's character in Street Fighter 6 are Chun-Li, who has a strong and slow fireball she's able to approach behind or zone with, and Ed, who has a strong tether, leaving him plus and able to mix up his opponent. The last main archetype that I would consider to be in this game is the Bully archetype. These characters frustrate their opponent with strong tools that force you to take action so that they're able to punish it. Their tools are obviously very strong, but do have drawbacks, and after you're able to stop them, the other aspects of their game can suffer. E Honda fits extremely well into this archetype, and he also has access to a command grab. M Bison would be another bully character, and he's able to perform strong set play with his bomb setups. That's all for main archetypes, but there's a whole other category of sub-archetypes that characters could fit into. Sub-archetypes usually aren't as character defining as main archetypes, but can still give you a good idea of what a character is aiming for. Charge characters have some of their moves on a charge instead of doing motion inputs, and that's really all there is to it. These characters perform their specials on reaction a lot more easily, but if they get crossed up or they have to block an overhead, they'll lose their charge. Setplay characters have access to tricky and powerful Okizeme situations, and there's a lot of variety in this archetype. When they get a good knockdown, their power increases a lot, but they often have to spend a resource to get their best Oki situation, or set their opponent up in a previous combo. Power-up characters don't start the round or game with access to all of their tools, but they're incredibly powerful when they get their charges, stocks, or drinks up. They're often weaker at the start of the round, and have to give up good okizeme, damage, or screen positioning in order to gain access to their stronger options. It's important to understand that just because someone like Guile can throw sonic booms all match, it doesn't matter if your opponent's just constantly jumping in and drive rushing at you. There's a lot of ways to describe characters, and I think archetypes are a quick and simple way to see what your opponent's goals might be. For training, try out a different character than your main for a couple matches. Next will be the last video in the Fundamentals 101 series for now, so thanks for watching up to this point, and I really hope you enjoy the next one.